Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Brown Bag Bets, brought to you by BetSperts. We are your daily dose of quick hit handicapping and sports betting picks. I'm Alex, joining you from a very snowy Philadelphia. It's not as nice as it looks behind me, unfortunately. Got to have those graphics, folks. And joining me, as always, every day at 11:30, Monday through Friday. Andy, how are things in the Great North?
Yeah, I'm not the one getting snow. Like the whole East Coast got hit. I'm fine here. It's still green grass. I joked I was mowing the lawn the other day. I'm not. It's still like 20 degrees. It sucks, but at least I'm not shoveling snow. So suck it, East Coast. And yeah, coming off a nice reminder on why I don't watch college basketball last night. The last 90 seconds, my team was down 14, down 5. I had a 10.5 in pocket. The market was pretty much 10 is what everybody got. And there was a flagrant, there was a technical, there were made threes on both sides. Whatever the under was, probably got crushed in the late game. I forgot that college kids foul when they're down by 10 with 40 seconds left. So a good reminder to me to never watch those games again. But we certainly got a win. That was very nice. Let's go to Lane. Yeah, on to today, and just like every day, NBA futures. And I don't know, does this have anything to do with certain signing that we saw recently?
It was a bet that I actually made a couple weeks ago and kind of been keeping it in my back pocket, waiting for Giannis to sign that big contract. The Milwaukee Bucks over 51.5 wins seems like a great look for me this year. You think about what they did this offseason. I think the team is definitely better with the addition of Drew Holiday. I think that Giannis is actually going to have a nice season, being off the ball more, not having to initiate as much offense. I'm curious to see what he can do with that extra space and extra time. When you start to look at the season they had last year, a 76 win percentage. But if you back out the bubble, again, 8 games they didn't really care about, that jumps all the way up to 81.5%. They're an incredible regular season team. They're deep. Budenholzer likes to make sure that the players aren't playing too many minutes so they're fresh every night. It's really set up well from a regular season perspective. As you start to look at the markets looking ahead, again, at that 50.5 number, that only implies a win percentage of around 70%. I love that. I don't know why that they're going to be a whole 10% worse from a win percentage perspective. The team's better. I think that some things moved around in the conference, but at the end of the day, they're going to be favored just about every single night against anyone that's not LA. Really excited for this number, especially now that Giannis has got ink to paper and we know he's going to be in Milwaukee for the year. Let's take the over, again, 51.5 wins, or if you got a win percentage anywhere, 70% or less, something in that range. So that is today's future as we have 6 days only, actually 5, I think, until we have real NBA action.
It is getting close, and that is a really good point. I bring this up all the time when I joke about the Denver game where they didn't have a quarterback, and I say you cannot use the stats from that game. You can't really use that when you're looking at anything historical, but how did the Saints play this year? You have to take that game out. That game was not an NFL game, and it's a really good point when you are looking at how did this team perform last year. You really should look at the bubble stuff, man, because there were teams that really, really had something to play for and really tried and put out an effort, and there were teams that did not care. They set this Bucks total. I remember this was one of the only bets I made in the bubble that wasn't, just a game for game stuff that I was essentially tailing smart people off. Was they set the Bucks win total in the 8-game bubble at 6 to start, which was hilarious because they weren't going to play for anything. I think they won 3 games. I feel like they're 3-5, maybe even worse. That one was it got bet down. I got some 5.5 as well. That was the one bet that ever made me feel smart in the NBA. So
yeah, it was a big bet for us in the net worth pod too. It was pretty obvious that they didn't have much to play for, and again, they hung a total like they would be trying. So I think you're right. It was 5.5, and if they even got 3, that was a surprise.
Yeah. I won't touch long on this because this number's gone. This is another reason to probably, if you don't have it already, download the BetSperts app and follow me when I hit this. I hit this at 10.5. One of my kids bugged me for some homework help. By the time I got to logging it in, it was down to 9, minus 15. I'm like, God, this is getting out of hand quick. So I can't recommend this at 7.5. This number's getting beat up. Wait for maybe some Bryant buyback. If you pay attention to watch, this game doesn't start for 4.5 hours. If you watch and you see a Wagner 9 pop again, that's bettable. This is strictly a numbers play. And also there has been a little bit of signal to some of these teams playing back-to-back against the same team. These two teams played last night. I think the other Bryant won by like 12 or 14, covered the number. There's a little bit of signal to very difficult to do that twice in a row. So it is my play for the day. It's something I put in, but again, it was a lot better a couple hours ago. So don't get.
That's why you got to be on the BetSperts apps, folks. Again, you can find him at Andy, get notifications and stuff. So again, your number, you're looking for 9 minus 15 or minus 10.
Yeah, I mean, any 9. If you had to pay 15 cents to get a 9, that's not bad. But I mean, it's down to 7.5 at spots. So don't do that. Don't go chasing bad numbers. Don't go chasing waterfalls. Let's just pay attention. Get the next one. If I have anything else for today, I will add it, and I'll probably tweet something as well. Before we get to, we have a guest today. We're gonna do some college football talk. But before we do that, we're gonna get some football talk, regular football talk. We are going to do first touchdown scorer real fast. It's something we're probably going to do for every primetime game until the end of the season here because it's a fun bet. And Alex always throws something together. So what do you got for us in this one? We have Chargers plus 3.5 in pocket. That's down to 3. Feeling good about the CLV, but this would be an awful nice icing on the cake for sure.
Absolutely. So as we start to look at the market today, it's pretty tough because there's a lot of injury concerns, and it's just a tough matchup when you start to look at where the value is. At the end of the day, the Raiders are not a great defensive team. They give up, I think, the second most touchdowns to wide receivers. So you would want to target a lot of wide receivers. Unfortunately, Mike Williams is hurt. Keenan Allen's hurt. One or both might play, but I don't think we can attack them in the betting market. So we'll go back to look at some other positions. Again, we always find value in quarterback here in just about every game. If you're looking at first touchdown score, start with quarterbacks. As I look at some of these teams here, the Raiders are top 10 in the league in giving up rushing touchdowns to quarterbacks. We know that Herbert is a very apt rusher, so I like him at 22 to 1. Conversely, the Chargers, again, I think are in the top, actually the fourth worst team in the league in terms of giving up rushing touchdowns to quarterbacks. And you don't think of Derek Carr as a great rushing quarterback. He doesn't run a whole lot, but you go back and look this season, I believe he has 2, maybe 3 touchdowns already rushing. I know one of them was a first score. And last year, I think it was 3. The year before that, 3 again. So he scores a couple touchdowns a game. It actually seems to have a fairly decent rate of being the first touchdown. And in a division game tonight, if they get close to the goal line, I think we'll see a Carr sneak or something like that. So love that price at 30 to 1. Going to the tight end position, Hunter Henry is just great value in almost every single week here, especially when we get a chance to get it up to like 15 to 1. Again, shop around a little bit. If you look some places, this will be 10, this will be 12, but there are a couple 15s around, and that's a much more solid number. He's second on the Chargers in targets, has gotten a ton of attention since Herbert took over, especially. So I like him at 15 to 1. And then finally, Austin Eckler. Let me just double check this to make sure I have this exactly right. The Las Vegas Raiders give up the second most rushing touchdowns to running backs versus, the most rushing touchdowns. I like Eckler tonight. I think we're getting some value on him at 8 to 1. Normally your starting running back price is going to be in like the 4 to 6 range. So to get that number at 8 to 1, maybe some value here because of the quad injury, but it looks like he's going to play. I feel confident about that. So those are my 4 looks there. Got different unit sizes there across the board. So I have kind of the same value there. If you want, you can DM me at _noops on Twitter or at Brown Bag Bets, and I'll let you know kind of how I'm balancing things out. But those are the 4 looks I like. What do you think, Andy?
I am muted. Sorry about that. I had muted.
That's what I was trying to figure out if I was going nuts. I couldn't hear you. It looked like you were muted on the bottom. I'm sorry, folks.
I could do some. Yeah, I was just getting stuff ready. Well, I gave out 3 bets there. They're all winners. I'm sorry about that. But either way, yeah, first week jitter. Sorry. Either way, if you do want to bet Allen or Williams, I suppose you could do it in the 20 minutes before the game. You might find out like, hey, they're playing, or if one is playing and not the other, there may be some value on Williams or Allen because you're missing the other receiver. So, no, Andy
was markets are slow to update.
So
yeah, if you find out that one is out and one is in, definitely go with the one that's in. And then I assume the other looks you gave, because the 3.5 that we gave out yesterday, unfortunately, is gone. We don't mind the 3, maybe a Chargers team total over 25.5. And then I think you bet an alt spread, didn't you?
Yeah, I actually bet some Chargers -6.5 at 3-1, just because I like a little spice in my life on Thursdays. But so we'll look forward to that one tonight. And as I was reminded by our guest who we're about to bring in, there's football tomorrow as well. We've got college football tomorrow. I even I made a fun look at this. Boom.
Oh, I like that.
Guest, Eric Eager, PFF.com, literal math doctor. You can find him at PFF Eric there.
Very mathy looking graphic too.
Yeah, look at that. It's like some math stuff, I think. The dots and the lines there. So gonna bring him in and welcome him to the stream here. Okay, we'll put him down below there. Eric, how you doing today?
Long time no see, Andy.
Yeah, I know. You had me on last night when you asked, like, hey, it's short notice, but can you come on? I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do here? I'm having you on tomorrow. I can't say no. You got me in a box. So I had a lot of fun last night on the forecast for sure.
Yeah, it's all about playing the game properly when booking guests, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, a lot of people, it's called Pro Football Focus, and that's not how college is. Although college is a business, there's a lot of money that gets thrown around. I don't think people realize just how much college football you get involved with DFS and betting wise. And what do you got for me?
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, for one, I think there's a really fun slate from the perspective on Friday of DFS, because you get, you have the UAB Blazers at the Marshall Thundering Herd. Both teams are really good defenses, even if you include Power 5 teams. But then right next to it at 7:30, you have Ball State versus Buffalo. Buffalo, if you guys remember a couple weeks ago, Jarrett Patterson almost set the record for rushing yards in a game in college football. So that's going to be an interesting sort of couple of games where one totals 42 and the other 67.5. A lot of people are going to be flocking to the latter and not the former. And then obviously, Andy, we were talking the other day about the Minnesota Golden Gophers against my Nebraska Cornhuskers. The Huskers coming off like a one win, and obviously handled that modest amount of success really well, and losing outright to a Gophers team that was missing 38 players with COVID. So they face the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers. I kind of like Rutgers in that game. And then the nightcap is obviously USC versus Oregon. USC painted by some as a college football playoff contender, by the committee not so much.
No, that's the thing. I looked at all these, conference championship games, and normally I do spend conference championship weekend in Vegas if I can help it. And it's usually the same weekend as the rodeo, which is great. But yeah, you have 5 conference championship games in the Power 5, and the 3 that actually matter are all double-digit spreads. With the, Clemson's 10.5,
Yep.
Bama's pushing 18 at this point, and then of course Ohio State is a big favorite over Northwestern. So the 2 conference championship games in the Pac-12 and the is that the title game, Iowa State Oklahoma?
I believe. Well, yeah, I believe so. Yep.
Or de facto title game. Yeah, both.
Yeah,
of
they
those
don't really have a. Do they? They don't have a conference title game in the Big 12, right? They just, or they don't have divisions.
Yeah, they don't have divisions. I think it's just the best 2 teams or whatever they do. Yeah. But it's funny. Like those are the closely lined games, and they don't matter. They don't matter whatsoever for the committee. I get there are like some weird situations, I suppose, where Iowa State could somehow sneak into the 4, but I really don't think the Pac-12 has anything to say about anything. So did you make any bets for any of those Friday games?
Yeah, I mean, I have some UAB +5 and also money line. I have some Rutgers plus the 7, and now it's 6.5, and the money line as well. I think those 2 offer some value. Obviously, Marshall is just 2 weeks removed from getting shut out by Rice. So they're like kind of a fragile team that depends upon defense, and we know, with COVID and everything, I kind of like to fade narratives that depend upon defense, because defense is such a weak link system that if you get 1 or 2 guys out, it turns from a strength to not so much a strength. But to your point on the conference title games, I do think so. Yes, all the 3 ones that matter are all lined over 10. I do think though Notre Dame should probably be catching fewer than 10 points. I understand that, like, the last time they played, you know, it could have gone either way, and that, you know, Clemson had the Lungale guy playing quarterback, but he like balled out. He like played a really good game in that game, and Clemson was really the conservatism of their play calling that really kept them from having the kind of success that they should have had. You know, they have NTN, and he's a guy that, you know, is somebody who, I mean, they give the ball to him a lot of times, but Clemson, funny, is negative EPA per run this year in the ACC, playing really no one except for Notre Dame. They have negative EPA handing the ball to a running back who many think is going to be a first-round pick. Lawrence has been great, but he's actually thrown more turnover-worthy plays than Ian Book has this year. And Ian Book actually has a better passer rating when under pressure, which I know is kind of noisy, but it shows that, you know, this quarterback mismatch, I think it was less pronounced than people believe, and that, I think, leads to just taking the points with Notre Dame in this one.
Yeah, I don't hate that.
And maybe an interesting question there. What have you seen in terms of the market reaction to Trevor Lawrence coming back? Do you think maybe that's part of the reason that this is a little overinflated?
Well, I think it's two things. I think it's Lawrence for sure. That's obviously it. And you know, Lawrence has obviously, he hasn't sucked this year. Obviously, he's been good. I don't think he's been best quarterback in the country good, which is interesting. And it was kind of that way last year as well. And we didn't see it really until the national title game when they faced a really good defense in LSU, or good enough defense in LSU. So I think they're a little bit overreacting to that. I also think there's a narrative here which makes sense to me a little bit, which is Notre Dame doesn't really need to win this game. You know, if they lose, they're probably still in the top four, especially given that they're, you know, coming out of the season with a split with Clemson. It would be a fairly like solid thing, you know. But there's something, I think, of a kickback there. Whereas if Notre Dame wins this game outright, Clemson might not make the college football playoff. And if Clemson wins this game outright, they might actually get a rematch in the 2-3 game, right? If Ohio State hangs on, there's a chance, obviously, the committee will make Ohio State the 2 or the 3, but there's a chance that they won't. And if Ohio State doesn't actually win, then there's really no choice for them than to put Clemson in and if you're Notre Dame, do you really want to play Clemson a third time? Like, I feel like there are some narratives associated with the motivation here that maybe are misplaced.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense to me. I think, you know, again, as you start to look at it, I would want to knock them out, right? Wouldn't it be great to say that you were the team that knocked Clemson out completely? So if that happens and Clemson gets knocked out, who do you think maybe sneaks in as the fourth team? It sounds like it's, you know, again, Alabama, Notre Dame, Ohio State. Who's maybe the fourth team there?
It's really weird because the committee made Iowa State a team that lost to a team I really like, which is the Louisiana Lafayette. They, you know, by 3 scores. That team is 6th right now, which is really strange to see. I think it ends up being Texas A&M, right, where you look at their, you know, their quality victories against Florida, right? Although that doesn't look as good now that LSU knocked off Florida. That, to me, I think that's the next one up. Texas A&M has you know, they're at Tennessee this weekend. That might not be as simple of a game. They're 14-point favorites. Low total on that game, probably a decent amount of variance there. But I think A&M is going to be the one that goes in, and they're a compelling team. Kellen Mond's a good quarterback. They're averaging, you know, 0.2 expected points per pass. That would be the one I would look at. You know, obviously there's a chance that they'll try to throw a bone to the Pac-12, and, you know, but I just don't see that being warranted this year.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
You've kind of turned me around to Notre Dame. And I think even I, a grizzled old, you know, I've given up Vikings fandom. I've given up a lot of fandoms to try to stay unbiased. You know, just trying to stay unbiased in this is so hard. Where, like, if you hate a certain player, you like a certain team, it clouds your judgment. And just the Notre Dame people are awful. Like, just listen, like, I just don't like them. And my boss, Reed, is a Notre Dame guy. There's just a few people in a few. Yeah, I know. He's fine. Not him, though. Yeah, he's all right. But just
good on you.
Like, they just get so excited about Notre Dame every year for, like, the last 20 years. It's like, it's not. Stop trying to make this a thing. They're going to lose, you know, when they were, like, plus 10 to Bama that game. I think that was, like, the Manti Te'o years.
Well, yeah.
That was a silly line. They tried to make Notre Dame a thing every year, and then I get sick of it, and I'm like, it's not a thing. Stop it and it's in my head now. It's like, shit, they are a thing. Like, they are a decent team. You can say what you want about. It's like when who got hurt for Bama, the wide receiver,
Jalen Waddle.
Like when Waddle got hurt, I'm like, oh no, and then I was like, oh shit, yeah, never mind. We got another 5-star just walking.
Exactly.
It's the same thing.
Mac Jones.
Same thing with I can't say the name of the backup quarterback for Clemson.
Alungale.
Alungale was good. He played really well. They still lost. It's not in Clemson. It's on a neutral. Yeah, 10.5 is probably too much. Like, I've finally come over to the dirty Catholic side. It shouldn't be 10.5. It should probably be a touchdown. So I'll probably bet this. I'll cheer for Notre Dame with all the Notre Dame guys. But
we can bet it and not cheer for them. That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, I'll cheer for.
That's like every wager I have on the Packers. It's like I'll do it. I just won't want to watch it.
Yeah, I think Reed's watching even. No, not you, Reed. All the other Notre Dame guys for sure. You're fine. You're very level-headed about the Irish and the White Sox and everyone you love. I've come around though. It's one of those things where I don't bet enough college. I think that's where, if I'm not paying enough attention, I'm still in that same. I'm still stuck in the Manti Te'o year. It's like, yeah, they're in the playoff, but they're not that good.
What do you guys think about COVID and its effects on college football? I feel like I've had a decent amount of success this year. Obviously, chasing steam is one thing, and if you get ahead of it, it's been profitable. But also coming back over the top of what I would say be overreactions is also key too, right? As you talked about with Alabama, with Devontae Smith taking over for Jalen Waddle and being the 5th most valuable player in college football this year.
Yeah.
Minnesota winning with 38 COVID people over Nebraska. It's like the talent level, especially in Power 5. I think in the group of 5, it makes a ton of sense to bet just based on COVID information because the rosters are so thin. But in Power 5, the second string and first string differential is not that big. And there really aren't any quarterbacks even that are that good that their backups are that much worse than them in college football. There's probably a handful, right? And the one where people, I think, they got lucky. Frankly, I think the first time was going from Lawrence to his backup. The people overreacted to it enormously. And what we saw is like, if you play for Clemson, you're a baller, even if you're second string,
And half these times where I get early news or somebody tips somebody off and somebody lets me know, and I get a great number on like, oh, Kellen Mond's out. I'm going to bet Tennessee. I got a great number. Game's canceled. Like half the COVID steam lines that I've been able to grab, the game doesn't even get played anyway. There's been a few, or the Liberty quarterback when he was out, had that number way early.
Yeah. The Seans don't even play them that week. They play a different team that week. By the way, Sean's -3 if you want another one I like. Sean's -3.
I'll put that one down too. So, all right, Alex, anything? We'll probably close her out if you have any more questions college-wise for the weekend. It's weird. It's conference championship weekend, but there's also kind of still a full slate. In fact, I think there's even like a bowl game. There's a
bowl game Monday afternoon at 2:30 Eastern. That's how crazy this year is. They're trying to they're trying to there's a college game every day next week, including Monday at 2:30 Eastern. So this is unlike any other year, and I think right now we're going to get the good part of that, right? Exactly. The time where they're going to try to squeeze everything in is, I think, going to benefit us as bettors and overall degenerates this time of year.
I love the NBA bubble. So anything we could do to get sports on in the afternoon, let's do it, baby. I'm all for it. But no other questions for Eric. Thank you very much. That was really great. Nice breakdowns, nice quick synopses. That was a lot of great points. So thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Love the show.
Thanks, Eric. All right. I don't know how to get rid of him here. Look at that.
Well, I think we'll wrap it up.
Look at that. Got him out of there.
You have the recap card for us?
Yep. I'm going to hit the recap here. It looks like you can't even see the top. And he's going to have to work on his and that's good. That's hiding Wagner +9. I did that on purpose because you shouldn't bet that. That number is gone. Don't bet it. So Noops earlier gave you another future in the Bucks over 50.5, the 4 touchdown scorers, and then a couple little nuggets from Dr. Eric there with Notre Dame in the points and Coastal Carolina the chance -3.
Love it.
Anything else, Noops?
No, that'll be it. Thanks, everybody, for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, we would love for you to hit that little thumbs up button. Give us a subscribe there. Follow us on Twitter at Brown Bag Bets. Our DMs are open. We love the questions. We love the comments. We did a listener question yesterday. That was fantastic. We've still gotten some more questions and things that we'll probably filter in as we go along. Tomorrow is Friday. It will be a jam-packed day as we get you prepared for the weekend. And I think the only thing I forgot to mention, podcast, rate, subscribe, review, all that good stuff. Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow.